Hopefully it is better. You can hear me now. Yes, okay. So I start over again. Welcome to this HelloID webinar of the HelloID release, February release of this year. I would like to take a look at the new features that we added this release. I already posted a link in the chat, and there you can vote on the features you think that are the best we can discuss. So if we run out of time, we have the major features discussed. So please go to that. I will discuss the features now shortly with you guys. So let me go to the poll. So I already see some votes on the features. So the first one is the agent pool PowerShell data sources. That means that you can select an agent pool on which agents the PowerShell should run for the new data sources. The second one is the blocked entitlement notifications. This means we already have some thresholds for the entitlements on the target system, but now you get a notification email when there's a block available. The third one is the export list of the Oauth tokens. This means that we could already do an import of the Oauth Management tokens, but now we can also do an export, so you can make some changes in that and just import it again. But also you can use this for documentation or auditing or something like that, an export or a backup. The fourth option is the JSON object support for the data source input, and that is we can use input to test the data sources, but we had some issues with if you're using a grid or a multiple attribute value, you cannot put that into a text box. So now we have JSON support, so you can do that. With the ability to update the SAM account name for the Active Directory on-premise target system in provisioning. The change of the AD proxy addresses to not required. Currently it is required, but in the new setting it isn't. And there are also some little changes that could help us in the future. And of course the last one is the ability to set the username and immutability ID via the API. Before we go to, I'll give you a little time to put in more votes. Before we start, I would like to mention a little refresh on the roadmap, because I think it's really important. We added the notes of a release. So here you can see under the notes. So this is the roadmap, and if you go to launched and the current release, you can press on notes, and here you will see all the changes that we made and also the bug fixes that we have done. So in the feature you will only see the major new things that we added, and on notes you will see everything, and also we said here the important things. So it's good that you can search on there to see what's really changed. Also, we made the ability to show or play the release videos a little bit easier, so you can see it inside the website. So let's go back. In the meantime, the voting is still the same. So let's start with the agent pool, PowerShell data sources. So let's go to HelloID. Oh, it's just changed, but I'm still doing the agent pool, PowerShell data sources. So let's go to the self-service side, and we can go to data sources, and let's go to member data source. So here we have the AD group generate table members. So what this data source does is it will generate the members of a Active Directory group based on an input of the selected group. So it will return the users that are a member of a group based on a selected group. So here in the data source configuration, you see a new option. So currently all the agent pools are not selected. So you see no agent pool selected here. And here you can see I have two pools in my agents, or two pools where my agents are. So it's Enjoy VM and Enjoy Cloud. And here I can easily select them. So let's say I want to run this on Enjoy VM. If you don't do this and you still leave it on the no agent pool selected, a random agent will be used. So it could be good to select an agent pool. And maybe in the future we're going to change that the default pool will be used. But currently a random will be used. I will combine this a little bit with the JSON input, because you already see it here. I have a group that I need to pass in as an input. But currently, as you can see here, there are multiple attributes inside the group. So you have name, and I think it's also a description. So if I type a group name, let me get a group name here. So I have this group and I put it in here. It's okay, but if I execute data, it goes wrong. No data will be received and no model definition will be required. This is because it requires the selected group.name instead of the selected group directly. So we can solve this by doing a little bit of JSON. So I can switch on this and I can say I do JSON name we're also checking if the JSON is valid, so please just only execute when this is valid. And now if I'm running this, you'll see that we have a result, because now the selected group is the input as is shown on the previous one, and the name is this attribute. So this is how you can send multiple columns of a row if you're using a grid or something like this, or a multi-select option. So that's almost two. And if I select a different pool, I will add that there's no agent in this pool that can run this. So I would expect a error occur. So now it will just say, okay, no agent online. So if you change this and you execute the PowerShell, it will automatically use the agent pool that is selected. So even in this preview mode, it will use the agent pool that is selected. And of course, also when you run the form. A little trick, if you need to know what you have to put in here, you can go to the connected form and just look at the output of the form. So in this case, I have a grid and I can check the output of the grid. And there I see that there's a name and the description and the values of them. And I can just copy them from there inside here. Just a little practical tip to help you guys. So if there are any questions, please ask them in the chat so I can answer them. But I will go on to the next functionality. Okay, so we already spoken about the agent pool and also the JSON object because they are closely connected. But I also see that the ability to update the SAM account name is more in favor. So I'm going to demonstrate that one and talk about it. So let's go to provisioning and go to the target systems. And of course, this is for the Active Directory on-premise system. So we have one here. And we must go to account, configure, because here's the mapping. And it works the same as the default mapping and update switches. But now you have the option also available on the SAM account name, because that's the username in Active Directory. This does some magic behind the scenes, because the SAM account name change isn't like a normal attribute. It's a bit special, and it also changes the, or it's more like a rename than because the whole path of the distinguished name is changed in Active Directory. It's a little bit technical, but we are sure that we do this before any attributes change, so that we can change the path and then use the new path in the other attributes updates. So that's the reason why this is a little bit special on the technical side, but for the customer or the person that configured this, you can just easily do it by just switching on update this field, and it will update automatically in the system. Of course, it's always updated based on the same update mechanism as the other one, so based on changes in the person. And I think in the next release we're also going to do this if there are business rule changes and change of a scope, but we will talk about that in the next release. So every time there's an update, it will trigger and looks if a new value has to be generated or changed based on the names and the logic that you built inside the complex, or just a field, of course. So that's that feature. The blocked entitlements notification I'm going to do next. So that's also in provisioning. And if I'm going to the system and we go to notifications, you will see a blocked action summary, and you can just add it as an email notification, and we have a new event here, blocked action summary. And what we'll do, so let's say I have this set up. This is a running configuration. I'm currently someone of HR, and I make a big mistake, or I think it's a big mistake, because I'm looking for Clark in my source system, and I'm going to change its end date to yesterday. So this means it will be offboarded. Now I've saved it, and now I'm going to import the new data. So this happens overnight, of course. So somebody changed the HR data, makes a mistake or something like that, and now the system is at night running, and it's importing the data. And normally I would expect that a deletion or maybe only the access, in this case only the access of the system, will be revoked, but also the permissions. So if we go to the evaluation, we should see that the rights and the account access are, no, there are not. I think I made a mistake. My change. Oh, my mistake. I forgot to save. This sometimes happens if you're doing a live situation. So let's do it again and just import it. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Cheered. I did it wrong. Yeah, I didn't save the contract. I only saved the person. But it should be good right now. So we go to the evaluation, start it again. Yes, and here you will see that it does a delete and disable and remove of accounts based on the rules, of course, but you also see they will be blocked. So what happens now if I start a new enforcement? So I only did an evaluation, now I want to enforce it. You will see that my entitlements are blocked. You will see here in the blocked actions that there are a lot of entitlements that are blocked, all revoked. But now also, because I have set the notification, it will send me an email with the summary of this block. So you don't have to look at this portal every day as an administrator. That's, I think, something that's really nice. And as you can see here, I received a new email. Oh, sorry, I already had this email based on the earlier run, but it's the same email because else I have to wait before the email has arrived and it sometimes could take a while. But here you can see a summary, so you can see all the systems and the types that are blocked. So in this case, the accounts that are disabled or deleted are one of them are blocked, and of course this is also always the same person in this case. But if you click on the more details, you will end up in the same screen I was here before. And here I can see, so here you have the details, and here I can see which person it is. So in this case, it's Walter Clark. So the system of the thresholds and the blocking is still the same, but now you will receive an email when it happens. So it's easier for an administrator to go look into the system if you receive an email. If there isn't anything blocked, you will not receive an email. So if there is anything, it's serious. There is something that's blocked. Okay, let me go to the features again. See if there are any changes. So the change AD proxy addresses to not required. I can show you where it is in the software, but I cannot show you a lot of it because now you can see the proxy address, you can delete it. So previous you cannot delete the proxy addresses because it was a required field for Exchange integration, but now you can just delete it. There are still some fields that are not deletable because we need them for this current system. So you cannot delete them, as you can see here. But we also make a different change. That is that we separate the required and default fields. So the proxy addresses will still be available as a default when you add a new Active Directory system, but it's no longer required. So you can remove it, but it will show up as a default. So in the future, we can extend the default set that you need. But of course, you can always add an additional field below here. So by selecting this one or typing one. Let's go to the other ones. There are no votes on, but let's go to the export list of the OAuth tokens. So this is when you're using some management tokens. So let's go back to the admin portal. And currently you have here is security, and go to the Oauth Management. And we already had the import tokens option. So you can create a CSV file based on the standard, which is in the documentation. But it's also, I think, a Microsoft standard, and you can import the tokens. There are some limitations to that. I know that we don't delete any tokens that are already in here. But now you can also export the tokens. And if you do that, then you can do the import tokens after that. But please keep aware that it's not like exporting the tokens, changing everything, importing tokens, and everything works as you want it, because in the import tokens we have some limitations, like we do not delete the tokens currently in your or currently set, so you have to remove them by in the UI because of security reasons. So the export tokens and import tokens can help you by assigning new users to it, but you cannot remove a bulk of tokens using that feature. Also, you can use the export tokens, of course, to see some audit logging, so you can see which token is assigned to which one. Because it's CSV, you can load it into Excel and you can check everything. I see that we have a question. What about the stability of the PowerShell data sources? They suggest me wants to go back to the task data sources. Currently, we are really busy with that, and hopefully we will do a hotfix in the next 2 weeks, I think. That will solve the problems. If you want a production ready right now I would suggest to go back to the task data source as your suggestion. It's more reliable currently, but we're still working on the PowerShell data sources, and we made, I think, 6 improvements yet. There's also in the release notes. So please look in that, and it should work better, but there are some other things, problems we're having with memory and services, and sometimes it goes into a limbo state. But we think we have the solution, but we're currently testing it. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks we have this resolved. And if you want to have something reliable immediately, please use the task data sources. And also we have a status up in the HelloID status page. If it's gone, it really works well, then you can use it reliable. Sorry for the inconvenience. No other questions. Then I will go to, I think it's the last feature, and that's the set username and immutable ID. I'm not going to show that because it's the API and it's a little bit technical, but I want to mention something, and that's in the documentation, of course. Of course, every feature we also document on the website. If something is missing, please contact us and we will add it. It's docs.helloid.com. But for safety purposes, we introduced a new object in the API. So if you're just sending a whole object and sending the username, it will not be automatically changed. So now it's in the identifier object. So you need to put it inside like this. So this is for backwards compatible reasons and safety reasons. Else, if you just send the username in the previous version, we would ignore it. And currently, you would have a problem if you're going to accept it, because then maybe all your users will change. So it is just a precaution inside the API. So I think those are the features. Maybe it's also good to mention that currently we had some problems with the agent update also, but we changed this version because normally it would only update in the night. I don't know the exact time, but I think 5 o'clock or something. But now it should update immediately after the release, and it will try to update if there's a difference between the portal and the agent version. So to keep all the agents up to date, so you will have all the new features available at any given time. So I think those are the most important aspects of the of this release. Let me check. No other questions, right? If you want to do it, I'll wait 10 seconds and then I will go to the end of the presentation. No, I think there aren't any questions. So I would like to thank you, and please do not forget to subscribe in this webinar, so you will be kept in a notification when we have a new webinar, or of course new HelloID videos. And also don't forget to hit the notification bell so you will never miss a webinar or a video of HelloID. So you will keep updated for all the new features, but also I know that some training videos will come up in the next couple of months. So thank you.